This is a good representation because these young, brilliant minds come from UNLV, College of Hospitality, just right down the street. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Dr. Cervantes Lee, who's sitting right over there, who orchestrated this, helped us bring his students up here on stage. Thank you. He's right there. And thank you so much for all of your participation in the Restaurant Technology Network and just for letting them skip class today. You gave them a pass. Extra credit. So thank you so much. And I want a bulk of our time today. We have about 40 minutes, give or take. I want a bulk of the time for someone to circulate microphones in the crowd because I don't want to be the only one asking these folks what you all are thinking. So let's get that started and let's get this conversation started. So thank you and welcome everyone. This is a huge panel. I'm going to move my chair. I can't even see everyone. So thank you all for being here. I want to start out by just thinking about, like, obviously these folks are your most coveted consumer, right? You want the share of stomach of this generation, the share of wallet, but you also want to know what they're thinking about, where they're going, what the buying decisions, and how they prefer to transact, how they prefer to do everything, right? It was really what we all want to know. We also know that these are future leaders in the industry because they're at the UNLV College of Hospitality. So they might be sitting in your chair or coming up here to accept an award in their lifetime. So we're thrilled to have you all here. So tell us a little bit, and everyone just jump in, okay? Because I'm not going to call out names and go through a round robin. I think it's best if we just jump in and talk. Let's talk about what makes you choose where you want to eat. Let's just start off with that. Who wants to kick it off? Ira, you're the voice of a generation. Let's hear from you.
Hello, is this
Yeah,
on? Okay.
You're good.
Good morning, everyone. How I choose to eat. Most of the time, I eat a lot, even though I look very skinny. I can stomach a whole meal, 2 meals, maybe some leftovers, but I see a lot of marketing now on Instagram and TikTok, and that just makes me want to drive over there even more. And I know some people, my friends, do all the time. They'll drive all the way to California just to try this dumpling place in SoCal, and it's just crazy to me. Like, I would never drive all the way over there, but it does look very enticing. So that's mainly how I choose a new place to eat.
So social.
Yes.
Anyone else agree with that or want to chime in about where they find brands to go to?
I definitely agree with that. But I mean, personally, I'm very much type A. So whenever I'm going to go anywhere, I like to look into the restaurants that are going to be in the area. Or if I move to a new place, I just moved to Vegas a year ago. And the first thing I did was start a Yelp list of all of the restaurants. And granted, coming from a small restaurant, I understand that Yelp isn't always necessarily the most reliable source, but it's also the most convenient and it's the most well-known. So I think utilizing that is really important. So Yelp also definitely, especially because of the large collections they have on there and all of the reviews that they've accumulated over the years.
Okay, good. That's interesting. So when you do decide to go to a place, I mean, obviously, you know, TikTok, the social, the Yelp, the influence kind of way that you kind of look at where to go. How do you prefer to eat the food? Do you prefer to DoorDash it, Grubhub, whatever, or do you prefer to go in, or do you prefer to take away? Tell us about your preferences about where you want to eat your favorite meal. Anyone want to chime in? Yeah.
I know for me that it's more about experience than anything. So I want something unique. I want something that, you know, I mean, I guess everyone says it's something I've never seen before, you know, because, you know, you get tired of just the same old, right? And I'm very much a sit down social person. So I like to interact with the server. I like to hear, you know, what's new, what's different. So very much the social aspect, I think for me influences, my preference to dine in.
Okay.
I think it also really depends on the mood that I'm in, especially if I feel a little lazy today, or I feel like I want to stay at home watching Netflix, that I would definitely do DoorDash or something. But experiencing outside, especially post-pandemic, like I miss people. I think people miss people, that I want to interact with the people, and having all the necessity of technologies and also the allowance of the phones and everything is convenience. However, I think we're still missing that aspect of a hospitality that I can go talk to some people. And we're in the era of enjoying that moment as well.
So let's talk about your last third-party delivery order. Did you order it on an app? Did you order it from the third-party delivery place, or did you actually go to the website and look for that brand and order through there? And why did you do what you did? I guess is the best. Let's start with
So I typically don't do third-party deliveries. However, the past month I was fortunate enough to take a trip to New York City, and so I kind of struggled because I never used the app. So I actually went directly to the restaurant website, and luckily for them, they had like a chat box option on their website, and so I just tapped in Grubhub, and it took me there because I had no experience with the apps. Even though I'm Generation Z, I typically don't use them. So for me, I directly went and used what that restaurant had on their website.
Okay, right. Anyone want to address that?
So for me, like last experience should be yesterday. I ordered the McDonald's over the application, but I pick up by the drive-through, like by myself. The reason, the main reason is actually regarding the delivery fee, actually.
Right.
And if I choose to do some like food delivery service, I will say maybe it's a bad weather or something because the Las Vegas is a small city.
Right.
Like you can drive anywhere like 15 to 20 minutes.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. So how many of you have the apps on your phone? Like what app do you use the most and why do you use, or what prompted you to download even the app? Like a specific restaurant app. I'm not talking about Grubhub or DoorDash, just an app.
So I am a sucker for reward systems. So I have Del Taco, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's. And what instantly lures me in is if you sign up, you get a free taco or free fries. And I'm like, I don't have to spend money. Like I just paid tuition. So you can definitely pay for my fries. So yeah, that's definitely what gets me in is those advertisements for free food.
So it got you in and it keeps you coming back because of the rewards.
Yes. And I will say that when I get my free fries, I may or may not end up spending like $5 on like a drink or like, you know, extra food. So
yeah. And anybody else have an app or want to talk about their app experience? We'll start with you, Del.
Yeah, so I definitely agree reward systems are a huge incentive, but also ordering through the app directly to the business is a major plus because you don't have to deal with the first of all, there's major lines sometimes. So sometimes you just want to bypass that and go straight to the restaurant, pick up your order and leave, especially if it's a very quick service restaurant that you weren't going to dine in anyways. But yeah, so if you can order through the app and there's a reward system, I think that's the biggest incentive. Most of the time I'll like download an app hoping that there's some type of reward or something like that. And I'll just delete it if there isn't, just because there is no purpose of me having it. Sometimes it just keeps track of your last order and things like that. And yes, it's convenient sometimes, but a lot of the times I feel like we also don't even want the same thing. We want like the newest thing on the menu just to like try it out. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just piggybacking on it. I feel like if we go to a certain food court, nowadays there are a lot of kiosks available, and they force us to download the app, and I have the resistance of downloading the app. Like, I'd rather just go talk to the person and then order it through that because the phone is being loaded up with all these different apps that I'm running out of my memory, my phone. So that part is, we kind of have the 50-50 feel. I kind of have the 50-50 feeling of it. Do I need to download this app or not?
So if you find yourself in a situation where you're in a food court or something, let's just say, and there's a kiosk and then there's a person, what do you want to do?
So based on my experience, if the line is not too long, I'd rather go to the counter and then order it.
Okay.
But I had also experience at the airport. I put my order in on my phone, on my app to pick it up. But actually the person who came after me and stayed in the line and picked up the food than I did. So I was like, oh, okay, this is really interesting.
So the kiosk was faster. Like the person who ordered through the kiosk was faster than you at the. Interesting.
So from my point of view, I will say it depends on how familiar I am to the restaurant. Take an example, if it's McDonald's, of course, kiosk works because I know exactly what I want.
Yes.
But if it's like a new restaurant to me, and I will prefer a waiter or waitress so that I can interact with him or her and to learn like, do you have any recommendation? Do you have any special today? Something like that.
Okay. So Ira, I know you and I are Apple Pay snobs. Tell me about how you prefer to pay and why.
I only prefer Apple Pay because as you can see, the only thing I have on me right now is my phone and this water. So I don't really like lugging around a big wallet. I mean, most of my friends say it too. Like they don't even know where their debit card is. And if there's not Apple Pay there, they're just not going to spend their money. I think it's just part of the convenience thing. I'm not really too sure who uses cash either after
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah. And so I guess for me, I love the apps because I can pay in the app. Is that an incentive to download the app because you can just transact inside the app?
For me, it's an incentive to do the app, especially for McDonald's, both as a consumer and as a former employee, because when customers use the app and when I use the app personally, it just makes the transaction move faster. So then I can, you hit the button, I get the receipt, or you don't even get the receipt and then I get the food. So I think it's a lot more convenient. However, I know the catch for it is that I end up spending more money than I'm supposed to sometimes because it just
music
goes
to
through.
the people's ears in this room.
Yeah, you like that. My bank account doesn't, but
yeah. So let's talk about being an employee, because obviously this is not only your consumer and maybe your future workforce. Some of you have worked in this industry in hospitality. If anyone wants to chime in about their experience, good or bad, and why, I would love to hear about it.
I'll chime in. So my first restaurant job was at Boston Market, back home in Minnesota, where I'm from. And I was there for 3 years. They promoted me to manager at 18. And I loved the company at first, and it was really fun. It was really great. And then I got up to management, or the shift manager, and just didn't really feel like I was valued at all for the work that I was doing. Corporate would come in and just do these arbitrary things that just made no sense on the operation level. And I would ask my GM, why are we doing this? And well, corporate said we had to. And it felt like they were kind of out of touch with the actual operations and what we were doing and what we needed. So I was a little put off by that for sure.
Very interesting. Anyone else?
I think for me, my very first job was at a mom and pop pizza shop back in Richmond, Texas, where I'm from. And I think what I really realized is that compared to, I also have worked in McDonald's, which is a bigger corporation. Those mom and pop shops are really struggling to kind of get on the restaurant technology train, whether it be funding issue or just not being exposed for it. The restaurant that I worked for was in the community, established for 11 years. Unfortunately, it closed down because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But I had a similar experience where I started there when I was 17. And then once I turned 18, I got promoted to shift leader and manager. And I will tell you, doing inventory and hand counting, and I literally had an Excel sheet, marking sheets. And then I get to McDonald's and the corporation has this scanning system. My mind was blown. So I'm very curious to see how to get technology to smaller shops like that, because I was telling my former general manager, I was still in contact. And when I told her about that scanning system, she was like, that would have saved hours. We wouldn't have to count and triple count. So I definitely think getting that more accessible to smaller businesses and more affordable, and just the awareness and appeal and the importance of it there, because sometimes they don't think it's important. So
yeah,
as in my opinion, those are the the people in the industry that kind of need the technology.
Yeah, the brands that really need the most mentoring and pulling along with the technology.
Yeah, I completely agree. And to your point, Delaney, my family has a small restaurant, or 2 restaurants in Northern California, and that's all of my restaurant experience. I started as a host, I moved up to server, shift lead, and now I manage their payroll and finances. And definitely what you were saying about the accessibility of technology to these businesses, it's not even necessarily that they don't want it or that they don't have the ability to learn or that their employees can't handle it. It's the fact that the technology that's designed for small businesses is, one, too expensive really for them to handle, and it's also not efficient enough. So because I handle payroll, that's what I can speak to. And our payroll system is kind of inefficient compared to what a larger corporation could do. We have to wait almost a week for direct deposits. We don't even offer direct deposits for our employees because we want to get them paid on time. If we want our direct deposits to go into their bank accounts the day after payroll, then we have to pay, I think, another $20 a month per employee. And that lack of accessibility is really difficult to overcome. And also, again, to your point, the mom and pop shops are struggling. And I think that's a major market that technology companies haven't quite accessed yet. And if they have, it's, I guess, a slower development into them. But as soon as you get into them, they are very loyal customers. Truly, we have been with all of our vendors for an incredibly long amount of time, and we have great relationships with them. And I'm very proud of that. But at the same time, it's hard going to larger companies and meeting with them and seeing all the amazing things they're doing with their own technology internally. and seeing that we can't necessarily access that in smaller businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting point. When you think about technology in restaurants, you know, we've heard a lot here at this conference about automation, you know, and maybe, you know, futuristic robotics and artificial intelligence and things like that. What is your feeling about, like, if you were going to apply for a job somewhere and they had robotics, would you be excited about that? Would that be something that you'd be like, oh, I don't know about that. I'm going to be, you know, how would you feel about, I mean, obviously you're in the UNLV College of Hospitality, so you're probably more excited about it than the average Joe. Here I am. But I would love to hear your thoughts about automation or robotics, and if you've ever interacted with anything, or how you feel about working alongside them. Anyone?
I guess for me personally, I would be a little hesitant, just because that social interaction is very important to me. And I think in the hospitality business, that is the core of what we do, is relate to people and have those interactions and have those experiences. So robotics to me feel a little cold, especially in customer facing areas. So I would say maybe on the prep side, or like in the kitchen, like that would, you know, maybe be more efficient and help people do their job better. But I think in the customer facing side of it, I would be a little off put by that.
I 100% agree with that, especially with restaurants are struggling to hire the kitchen workers, and the kitchen worker shortage issues has been going on even before pandemic, since before the pandemic, and it's getting worse and every day, I feel like. And if we can do like half automated restaurants, like back of the house can be managed by people, but being ran by these machines, like certain technologies, if it's being implemented, and mom and pop restaurants can definitely rely on these technologies, but it has to be affordable for them to access to it. I think that's the biggest part. If there's any government funds or the grant that can be accessible to implement this kind of technology, people will have less resilient to going into technology instead of feeling cold. But maybe we can look at it as a innovation, and something can improve the business aspect and improve the operation. And we focus on that part, but still keep the employees and keep develop and train our front of the house people, manage people. I think that can only enhance the positivity of the technology, at the same time encourage our younger generations to come into the hospitality.
Right, kind of working together in tandem.
And yeah, I'd like to echo that too, and say there's a very fine line between technology making our jobs easier and making them more difficult.
So actually, we have a class this semester. It's regarding the hospitality industry technologies. And in the UNLV, we have a Black Fire innovation place, and we have a tour, I believe it should be 2 weeks ago. It's quite like interesting to find, instead of the robotic, mainly right now they are developing the cobotic actually. It's not like replacing the human. It's like help the employees to finish their works. So it's kind of like innovation for the other employees without, you know, feeling scaring to be replaced. And also I have a graduate classmate. His thesis topic is mainly about like the techno pressure brings by the high tech or the robotic in this industry, in the hospitality industry. So I believe like with all those people's efforts, I don't think like we should feel scared about this technology development. Actually, we should look forward to.
Right. I agree. I think that's well said. I would love to hear about your, you know, maybe your favorite experience that you've had at a brand. I think everyone in the room would like to know what brings you back. Like, what creates loyalty with this generation? You know, we know that, well, from research, we know that, you know, you care about a company's values sometimes, or you care about, you know, maybe what they stand for, or, you know, not just like a great tasting burger, but like, who is that person operating that restaurant? Or I would love to know if you have a brand preference and loyalty towards something, and why.
If I may start.
Yeah,
first. I think community buildup is one of the most important aspects that I personally expect from this hospitality industry, that without the building a strong community and giving back a positive influence, it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. However, it's something that can inspire people and motivate people to do something better every day.
Yeah.
Just a little thing really helps. For me, the perception, I recently read a book, is Unreasonable Hospitality by Wogadera, and he emphasizes in the book the fact that precision, the little thing matters in life. And personally for me, reading articles are great, but also there's little sentences in these articles that can motivate me every day. What the hospitality is doing good for the globally and also the community wise. That really influences me to look into these companies one more time.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. And apologies. So I think that also what we look for when we're not only looking to patronize a restaurant, but also patronage a restaurant, but also to work there, is if they're taking care of their employees. And we all know, we have friends that work in fast food. We have friends that work in mom and pop shops. We know what people are getting paid. And we also know what their environment is like. We know that even if they're getting paid a lot of money, they may not be treated the way that they would like to be at work, but because the pay is so good, they'll stay. And to some extent, you can feel that when you're a customer. And if you know that the employees are being taken care of both financially and emotionally and even professionally, and they're being developed, that's something that really draws you to a company, both as a customer, as an employee. And sometimes being a customer, you love the experience so much that you want to work for that company.
Yeah. Ira, do you have a favorite brand?
I was gonna say I worked at In-N-Out for 3 years, and for some reason I'm like still in love with their burgers, even though I ate it on like every single shift. It's just something about the way that they're able to give back to their community. Like, we used to have a fundraiser every month for like, there were kids who were being affected by, what's it called? I forget what it's called. Drug addiction, and there was like other things, like just very serious stuff like that, or like child slavery in other countries. Like, In-N-Out just gave back to that too. And another part that draws me to certain companies is when they're able to be sustainable, because I know a lot of the times, like, society puts pressure on us to use less water, use less gas, drive electric, do all this, but a lot of that blame can be put on companies. So the more a company does that sustainability act, the more I want to go to them and support their cause. Even if it is a little bit more expensive, it feels like I'm helping out the earth and like helping us live longer.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's a great sentiment.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that too. And, corporate responsibility plans and policies are all well and good, but I like to see when companies just don't talk the talk, they walk the walk. I can see that they're giving back. I can see that they're doing these things to minimize their carbon footprint. So like takeout boxes is huge for me. Like this, I don't know if anyone's seen like the styrofoam at Cane's, really like, it's kind of like, it's just ick,
Yeah.
So seeing things like that in practice, and, compostable containers and also like echoing what Ariana said about taking care of their employees. I like to see when people are having fun, when they're genuinely, happy to be at work. And I love that too. So I think again, there's a difference between just saying you're going to do something and actually doing it. And we do see that.
Absolutely. We have about 16 minutes left, give or take. I would love to open it to questions. Anyone have a question for our panel? I would love to get some of your feedback and questions. There's one up here.
I'm on my way. Hang on a second. I think this hand was raised first on the side. Then I'll go over there.
Hi. Thank you all so much for being here. I think, Delaney, you had brought up what keeps you going back to a restaurant. And I'm curious for all of you, what's your opinion on subscriptions? We've seen a couple really successful programs with Panera, PF Chang's. Like if McDonald's, for instance, Delaney had a McNuggets unlimited monthly subscription, would you do it? Why? Why not? Are you drawn to this? What would keep you involved in a subscription? What would tell you wouldn't want to do it? I'd love to just hear the whole group's sentiments on subscriptions.
So for me personally, a subscription idea, if there's a student discount, totally down. I love student discounts. Depending on the brand, yes. One thing that I haven't really mentioned, but I kind of don't eat fast food as much. I started eating in a lot more. So for me, a subscription plan doesn't seem too appealing, just because I already have a lot of bills and other things that I need to keep track of. So for me, it's easier to kind of do that loyalty based, how much I go and earn points spending on like the spontaneous, I want fries mood, rather than a subscription plan, just because
my like fast food isn't necessarily a go-to because I'm very budgeted just because my income's very limited right now. But I think that if there was a subscription plan that was made for students and even in partnership with things that are in our student union, so like maybe a Subway or Panda Express or something that's in the student union has a subscription plan, maybe for like once a week or twice a week, or you can have a meal, I don't know, some kind of plan like that where it's accessible on campus with the restaurants available on campus, I'd be interested in, just because I don't have to drive, so I could access it there. But as a consumer just driving around in like everyday use, maybe not. Yeah.
Anyone
I think
else?
part of the issue, or not necessarily issue, but part of the struggle with subscriptions and as students with limited income subscribing to things is that we're not always going to get a return on that investment. Sometimes we might pay for it and then just might not get around to getting to the restaurant in this case. And something that I think was really effective that I was doing even in high school was Wendy's has this little card that you can get at the beginning of every year, and it's $1. And with every purchase, you can get a tiny little Frosty. And sometimes that would be the reason that I would go to Wendy's. And honestly, now that I don't have it, I don't really go to Wendy's as much. And I think that's a good example of something where it's low buy-in, but you're still getting that recurring customer and they're buying something every time they go, but that little free incentive is getting them there.
Yeah, I feel like that when we do the subscriptions, especially if there's a varieties available for us to choose within the brand, that will work a lot better because we thrive to new innovative product. That product and different selections that we can, I think it's all the personality thing. If we can choose a product that we can shine our personalities out, that's we're more attracted to those. So for example, if like what Wendy said, like what she said, if I go to Wendy's, I get free Frosties or something, then I still have a variety, like different product that I can choose and I have a little things to add on.
Okay, that's good. That's good feedback. Anyone else have a question? Yeah.
Hey, first of all, thanks, guys. The insight's awesome. Appreciate you guys all being up here. We talked about mobile devices, payment, etc. I'd like to see a show of hands. If you had the choice to interact with a brand without an app versus an app, how many would prefer not actually having to have an app?
Not having an app?
Correct.
I would say it depends on the experience. So if you're looking for convenience, the app is definitely what we're looking for. But if we're looking for a connection, then we don't need it at all. Truly, a lot of things that I think we enjoy as a generation follow through word of mouth. And that's why I think social media and TikTok is so valuable. But if we're just looking for convenience, an app or just the easiest way to get it is usually what we're looking for.
And also other channels are available as well. Like we can be connected to Instagram or TikTok, and then those algorithms will lead us to very different brands that we can expose to. I think we get more excited about it. Oh, look at this, like this product, and we can be exposed to a similar product. If we're locked in one specific brand, I feel like we are very limited to have access to that specific brand versus we can venture out to different things.
We have one here.
Good morning. Thanks for your time. I'm just curious what you all hope to do once you graduate in the hospitality industry.
Great question. That was going to be my final question. So good question. Let's go down the line. Let's start with you. I would love to know, I think everybody in the room wants to know, what are your aspirations? What would you like to do in the restaurant industry?
So my inspiration right now is I'm a huge fan of like drivers, drive-ins, and dines, like those shows that people kind of just travel. And recently, my ideas always change, but the one that I'm really stuck on right now is I moved here, so I'm not local. And so it's very hard for me to kind of get that word of mouth of like those local restaurants, the mom and pop shops, because I worked in one. I love them because the vibe's different. The employees tend to care more. So right now, I'm kind of like have an aspiration of kind of doing like not an app, but some kind of like combination of AI and like local people like in the area. So then instead of having to go on Yelp and Google and all that kind of stuff, you have local input on like information about all those kind of places, whether it be a restaurant, a hotel, random museums, just because I like exploring a lot and I had to use a lot of different channels to go through that. And I feel like the rate that technology is going with, there's going to be something along the line that can be developed to make that process easier. So it's kind of like a travel concierge, so to say, that's in your pocket.
And the local flavor.
Yeah, with the local flavor.
Love
And
that.
that's the emphasis too, not the corporate stuff that I can get anywhere. It's what the locals like, because they don't want the tourists there, but I want to go there.
Future Startup Alley contestant right here.
Honestly, I know this is so bad to say, but is anyone hiring? No, I'm kidding.
Everyone in the room is hiring, Ira. Everyone in the room is hiring.
So honestly, I don't know really what specifically I want to do, but I do know that I have a lot of big ideas, and sometimes it's just hard for me to like figure out what steps to take. But at the end of the day, like my end goal would be to own something, to run something, to be the leader, and to be the face of a company, hopefully. But we'll see what happens. I'm not too sure yet.
I think that's in your future, for sure.
For me, operations has always been my happy place. I'm one of those crazy people that likes to be in the middle of a busy dinner service on a Friday night. And I've been in the industry for 10 plus years now. I started working when I was 15 and just fell in love with the operations side of restaurants. And I had the pleasure of helping a few independent restaurants launch their business and start from the ground up. And those were the most gratifying and fulfilling experiences for me. So long term, I'd like to consult. I'd like to help mom and pop shops, small businesses start and really gain a foothold in their communities.
That's nice. I love that.
After I finish my master's program, I'd love to get into more employee retention, employee training and development, because I've been in the industry for more than 10 years and mostly in Las Vegas and with the large companies and large hotels here. I work for fine dining, I work for casual and quick service. And then one thing is that we forget about the most important aspect of hospitality, taking care of people. And because we're so focused on making money and talking about costs and talking about expenses, we need to save money to make money. Sometimes we let the most important things go, and we need people to remind our employees, not only employees, but also the younger generation coming into our hospitality, to let them know the beauty of the hospitality is always taking care of people. And that's what I want to do.
I love it. HR is so important in this industry. So we need future leaders like you and with fresh ideas.
So for now, I would like to finish my master's degree first, and then maybe pursue for the doctor program in the future. And would like to implement my field maybe in the restaurant management industry maybe, but I'm still thinking about it. So
the future Dr. Lee.
Yeah.
Andrea.
So my personal end goal is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And right now it's such a buzzword, and I feel like a lot of the programs that are being implemented are really just for optics, and they're just to stay relevant and to avoid scrutiny. But I think there's a larger issue at hand. And I think now we've kind of gotten the diversity part with the number of employees, the quotas that we're meeting, but the equity and the inclusion are the things that are lacking. And I'm a child of immigrants, and my parents have worked their whole lives. And what they've told me is it's not about how hard you work. It's about who you know. It's about mentoring other people. You can speak as loud as you want, but if you're not being the person that is working other people up and bringing them up with you, then there isn't really any change that's going to happen. So I'd like to do that throughout my career, but ultimately I'd like to be able to make real change in that department.
Any other questions from the audience? This is a golden opportunity. There's one here. It's hard to see who's raising hands with the lights, but here comes the microphone. We have about 5 minutes left. We have a few more questions, time for a few more.
Hello. My name's Kathy. I'm with Jolly Bee Restaurant Group. Very good there, everyone. Congratulations to Dr. Lee. I've known him for a while. He does a great job with educating people. My question is, so there was a speaker here that spoke about digital customers making digital orders, and their goal is to have their restaurant to be 100% digital. We're not at that space yet because we have customers that are not using their cell phones or mobile ordering. Everyone prefers to walk into the restaurant or go through the drive-through. Even we tested our kiosks and customers were not using it because they're afraid of technology. Do you think that the future is going to head towards 100% digital, or is it still going to remain as some kind of hybrid in the restaurant industry?
I feel like being at MURTEC, I just see like a lot of people developing more and more technology that I didn't even like think would be possible. I feel like people at the end of the day are always going to want some sort of hybrid thing. Like everyone's scared of robots for some reason. Like they just don't want them to completely take over. They feel like AI is going to take over the world. So I feel like in a restaurant space, in a fast food space, you're always going to need some type of human interaction or physical person there instead of all fully ran by robots. If it happens, we'll see how our generation likes it. It'll probably be on TikTok and then people will check it out. And then if it's a big hit, then we'll see.
I think the education is the most important part, educating our customers and also our employees the benefits of going into these new technologies, Web3s and NFTs and all these things could be of useful tools instead of taking over our workforce. We emphasize on those positive aspects and the benefits and opportunities of these new technologies. And I think we can definitely do a hybrid. But the most important part of the hospitality is people. Without the people, it's not a hospitality industry anymore. Without the service, it's not a restaurant anymore. I think as long as we have that core value of why we are serving our customers and have that technologies helping our restaurants to get better, as long as we don't lose that core value, I think it will be okay.
Yeah. I think it all too depends on the format, right? Because a lot of like restaurants that are doing automation right, I mean, it depends on who you are, right? If you want to go to a dumpling, automated, automat, whatever, the restaurant is changing the definition, right? If it's all automatic and robotic, sometimes you just want to grab it and have the robot make it and go. Some people love that, you know, so I don't know. I think you're right. People are at the core of hospitality, but all these new formats are coming out and vending is getting really big. And I think it's just another revenue stream, you know, and a different way to reach a different type, maybe of customer in a different mindset for that time, you know, time and place for everything, maybe.
Definitely. I think it also isn't just one path that we're going on. I think we're almost diverging into two. So there is definitely always going to be a market for the people that want the newest, best, most efficient thing, and they are searching for that new technology. But the other way that we're going is also new experiences and genuine connections. And I don't think we're ever going to lose either, but there definitely is a focus in both, and recognizing and finding a way to marry the two, I think is probably the best course of action, because in order to be able to cater to the largest population, I would say.
Yeah. We probably have time for one more question. If somebody wants to ask a really good last question, I don't know if we even have any. I can't even see.
I don't see any hands, Angela.
Okay. So let's just end this with a last word from everyone. We just appreciate all of you so much for being here, but would love to just know kind of, as we close here today, what your mindset is about just restaurants in general and brands and the way you sort of consume food, the brands you sort of have an affinity for. What would you give, like one sort of sentence of advice for all of these restaurants? And these are restaurant technologists who are creating the restaurants of the future, the experiences of the future for you all. What would be your one sort of last words of wisdom that you say from our generation to you? This is what we would say moving forward, what we would like restaurants to look like or be like for us.
My one sentence would be, it's going to be kind of a long sentence.
Okay.
Probably a run-on sentence. I don't know. Integrate technology. Integrate technology. Don't replace people, and always free fries.
There you go. That was very succinct. I love that. Let's give her. Ira, what are your words of wisdom for our folks here?
Kind of similar to what Delaney said. Please don't replace all of our jobs with robots, and make sure we have great customer service and always smile.
I would say that the future of technology in restaurants, I think, is on the operations side, making the work life easier for your employees, making them feel like their job is easier because of technology, and it's not a pain and it's not replacing them. So I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Fantastic.
The impact of restaurant technology is significant in the industry. However, don't forget about people.
I love this common theme. It's very, to the heart of hospitality. Mm-hmm.
Mine's quite similar, actually. Technology is a trend in our industry, but never forget about the people, because this is like a human-based industry, like in the end.
Absolutely.
I would just say listen. So even if you are trying to innovate your technology, you're trying to innovate your people, you're trying to recruit the best people, listen. It's great that we're having this panel right now, but we aren't everyone. We're a representation of our generation, but we aren't every voice that should be heard. And listening and being willing to pivot and innovate and change and try new things, that I think is what's going to push us forward.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to say thank you so much to Dr. Cervantes Lee once again and his wonderful panel of students here for skipping class and joining us at MURTEC. Thank you, everyone.